Hi there, Sarah Dobson with Canadian HR Reporter here at HR This Week. And right now I'm speaking with Dr. Nick Bontis. He's a professor of strategy at the DeGroote School of Business at McMaster University. So can you tell us about your session this morning and what you were talking about?
Sure. So there were actually two sessions.
Okay.
The first one was kind of like a warm-up, 60-second, kind of get the audience all motivated to start session.
Right.
And what I did was, do you remember the old TV commercial, I Am Canadian?
Yes, indeed.
I did one of those. So I did a rant, but I changed it up so that the script was, I am an HR professional.
Nice.
So it was kind of funny and got everybody kind of up off their seats. So that's how we warmed up the audience in the morning. And then after that, my keynote was basically based on my book, Information Bombardment, and essentially what I was talking about was teaching people how to learn how to work smarter instead of harder.
Right, okay. Because there's certainly a lot about big data and how HR is dealing with all this information and analytics and metrics. I mean, how do people cope with all that? How do they sort through it all?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple levels of analysis to look at this. So I'll look at three: individual, group, and the firm. At the individual level of analysis, obviously we have to talk about things that we deal with most often in an average day. An example would be email. You know, the inbox is always open on the desktop, or we're looking at it on our smartphone. It's the last thing that we touch when we go to bed at night, and the first thing we touch when we wake up in the morning. So I talked a lot about some tips and tools on how to kind of sort through and cleanse your inbox to make it more productive.
Okay.
At the group level of analysis, I talk a lot about collaboration.
Yep.
There's a lot of waste in our organizations because, especially in large organizations, the left hand doesn't necessarily know what the right hand is doing. So people are repeating work or doing similar projects or can't find the person with the right answer. So I talked about some mechanisms of collaboration, including socialization and developing rapport. And the third one, the organizational level analysis, really is about predictive analytics. This is a very, very important academic field as well for me, using human capital benchmarking and measurement to understand where we are as an organization. So the analogy that I use is, pretend you're a car on the highway. If you don't measure what's going on in your organization, your windshield and all the windows are, blackened over with paint. So you can't actually see where you're driving or how fast you're going. So we talked about the use of employee surveys. Many organizations with shrinking budgets have taken that away, and I think that is horrible because that is HR's currency, understanding what's going on with the employee. If they haven't taken it away entirely, they only survey employees every 2 or 3 years, which I think is horrible as well. It's like driving on the 401 on the highway and only being able to see out the windshield, every 10 kilometers. You're gonna crash. So the recommendation or the tip that I gave to the audience was perhaps we can survey 1/12 of the organization every month. And that way you have a continual feedback as to what's going on, yet you don't have your employees suffer from survey fatigue. Because on average, they will only fill out the survey once a year, which is what you want pretty much.
Okay. And then on the HR metrics side, I mean, do you think HR professionals are well trained in that area, or is it a bit overwhelming?
It's a little bit overwhelming in as much as the average HR person maybe doesn't have the statistics sophistication or the mathematical sophistication. But you don't have to start with sophisticated models. You can start with very, very simple fractions. For example, revenue per FTE. Take the total amount of dollars of revenue divided by the number of full-time equivalents or the number of headcount as a proxy, and use that measure against your competition as a proxy to see if you're being more productive. Another one that's very, very important, obviously, are turnover, voluntary turnover and involuntary turnover. Most organizations measure that one. I think it's important to know whether you're suffering from more or less of turnover compared to your competition. But the one metric that I really focused on in today's keynote was T&D per FTE, which is the amount of money we invest in training and development divided by the number of full-time equivalents. That number in my research has been slowly shrinking year to year to year, which is a travesty because what it really means is we're not investing in our own people. And for every organization out there that has the same mission and vision statement that says people are our most important asset, well, guess what? You're lying to everybody if you're not investing in your most important asset. So it's about putting your money where your mouth is, and HR having that metric is necessary to fight at the mahogany table against the finance guy and the accounting people and the CEO about you wanting more money for the T&D budget. Because if HR doesn't fight, that budget will shrink more and more and more. And I think that's a really scary proposition for HR.
All right, so don't be overwhelmed by the numbers.
No, I think you need to maintain a semblance of work-life balance. That's critical. Tongue-in-cheek, stop fooling around with the BlackBerry and the smartphone when the kids are waiting to play. Play with the kids first. I think that's the most important thing. I don't think anybody will disagree with that.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All the best.